Launching cold email campaigns just got a whole lot easier, and it honestly could not be a better time than now to leverage what I'm about to show you. What I'm referring to is the MCP, otherwise known as the Model Context Protocol, and with Instantly's new MCP server, your outbounds just got a whole huge upgrade. In this video, I'm going to show you at a high level of what MCP actually is, how you can set it up, and I'll even show you how you can use vibe coding platforms like Replit so you can take your new app or website and easily set up campaigns so you can start getting customers immediately. First and foremost, what is MCP? Well, let's take a step back and actually understand what LLMs are at a high level, just to rip you through this. So an LLM is nothing more than the smartest person with all of the knowledge that you can possibly think of with zero context. You have a number of common AI makers like OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, Google, like Gemini, things like that. And then we have LLMs plus tools, which are typically web search, web fetch, things like that. So when you go into ChatGPT, you can usually pull in context onto the real world, no different than what you would do on a computer, which is Googling something. And then moving over, we have AI agents plus tools, which AI agents typically are doing something on your behalf. So if you were to set up an automation such as N8N or anything like that, they're actually doing the work and then they're using tools in order to do that work. Moving forward here, we have an AI agent plus an MCP server. MCP servers are what I like to say a toolbox. So it's really API wrappers, more or less, with API documentation around how to use that tool and to actually execute on that. Well, an MCP server is basically a toolbox, so that way you can use a lot of tools, and the AI agent is going to be able to know which tool to select, how to use it, and actually have connections around actually executing AI agent workflows. And then we have AI agents plus multiple MCP servers. This is truly agentic and sometimes even overwhelming, but you're working with an ecosystem where it's no different than a mechanics workshop where you have multiple AI agents, multiple toolboxes, and then you break it down into specialties to know which workflow and what they specialize in order to actually execute on that. So in essence, we are connecting AI agents with a set of tools as software, and we're able to do workflows that you would otherwise do yourself manually, and we're able to actually go from start to finish through the whole agentic workflow. And it's necessary to have certain steps to have a human in the loop to make sure that we're orchestrating it. In a nutshell, you can think of MCP like a protocol, no different than if you were to connect a USB into your computer and being able to connect things like Salesforce or HubSpot or Instantly, and to be able to do more agentic workflows for whatever your use case is. And I would recommend you go to modelcontextprotocol.io. This is actually a protocol that is ever evolving very, very quickly. So now right here, we are in Claude. So what I'm going to demonstrate here is how to effectively set it up. So that way you can start to actually use something like Instantly's MCP inside of something like Claude, Cursor, N8N, which I'll demonstrate here in a second. But you can see right here, if I were to click on this button right here, there are a number of different tools and MCP servers that I can connect to this agent, where I can do things like ClickUp to do more task management. We have Instantly's MCP, which if we click into here, we can see we have a number of different tools such as Activate Campaign, Count Unread Emails, Create Account, Create Campaign. One thing to note too, that you can see that this actually has full coverage of all the tools. So it is really important that you turn off MCP servers that you're not actually going to use, because it can select the wrong tool for the job, especially if it's similar to something like Create Campaign inside of Instantly. Might be Create Campaign in another tool like LinkedIn Automation or something like that. So how do you set this up? You're just going to go simply into your settings, or you can simply click the drop down right here. You're going to click Manage Connectors, and then you're going to see a number of different selections here. We're going to go to Connectors, and then you'll see right here, I have it actually configured already. What you want to do is just click Add Custom Connector. You're going to type in Instantly MCP, and then you're going to type in for the URL https://mcp.instantly.ai/MCP/ and then you're going to actually go get your API key and then plug that in, and then you're going to see it populate. So one URL, you have the whole toolbox for your agent. And you'll be able to see here configuration, where I can do read-only tools, where I can give it permissions in order to do certain things. And then we have a number of different tools to be able to do a lot of the stuff here. So how do you even use Instantly's MCP within Claude? So what you can see here is I've just simply asked, using Instantly's MCP, tell me what my campaign analytics are for the past 7 days. You can see that it has called the tool get campaign analytics, and then it says here's your campaign analytics for the past 7 days. And we go here, emails sent, total replies, top performing campaigns by replies, active campaign sending, and saying, want me to drill down any specific campaigns? So I can naturally just have add a lead, remove a lead, move a lead, anything like that. If you go into the tool set, you can see that there's capability revolving around everything here. And this really makes Claude more powerful and agentic on actually doing things automatically for you to be able to scale up your outreach. All right, for next up, we're going to demonstrate how to actually use it in N8N. So you see here, I have a very simple agent, which you can just add. You assign an LLM to it. We're going to use GPT 4.1 for this use case. And then we have a simple memory, so it can understand context past a certain point of history in your chat. For this one, we have 3 messages, which you can actually take that up or down depending on what you want to do. And then we have Instantly's MCP server, which you can see right here. This is the endpoint. Again, we're just going to type in the one URL. You want to select HTTP streamable. This is the protocol that is preferred. You'll see here we can leave authentication for now none, since we authenticate through the URL itself. And then you'll notice here we have tools. So we have access to all tools, which is very powerful. But then you'll notice that we have selected. So the tools will actually select, and then I can actually select different tools that I want to give permissions to for the AI agent. So it's really critical here. If you only wanted to do a specific thing, which in N8N, if you're usually automating something, you want to do it for specific use cases. That way it does not go off the beaten path and start to do things that might damage your infrastructure or your outreach. So you could give it all tools. For this use case, we're going to do that. But keep in mind, you want to do selected and then all except tools, which makes it a lot easier as well. So that is how you configure it here. And then very simply, if I were to say, how many inboxes do I have? So really simple. It says I have 74 inboxes connected to Instantly. Sometimes you have hundreds or thousands, and that's something that you're going to want to take into context. Just keep in mind the context window, which is essentially the kind of the working memory. No different than a human. If you were to ask what you did yesterday or what you ate for breakfast a week ago, our context window is similar to that. All right, and finally, we have good old Cursor. With Cursor, you can literally do anything that involves software and code. You can see here, we have a lot of MCP servers, but keeping this focused and on par, we have Instantly. So we have a number of different tools that we can do all the same actions. And for client management or even for your own outbound strategy, you can definitely use Instantly MCP in Cursor to launch campaigns, do analytics, start to build things around things. And it's definitely a very powerful thing that we use quite often to know that we can take context around a particular strategy and then launch a cold email campaign all within Cursor. Now, lastly, all the vibe marketing tools, specifically Replit. If you're not familiar with Replit, Replit is definitely a great platform to use if you're trying to just get started on creating something, such as an idea that you had years ago that were not possible. You can literally go into something like Replit and vibe code your way to a deployable application and actually see other people pay you money for this. Firstly, what you want to do is to go to integrations, and then you're going to see add new connector or add MCP server. And you can see right here, same thing, that we have connected Instantly's MCP, and then we have all API endpoints. Effectively, Replit agent can access external MCP servers, which we have instantly available. And this agent now is set up for success on being able to do everything. Before we get into the details here, why would you use MCP in the first place, especially for something like Replit? And this is the biggest thing that I would really like to help and show you on just how easy, and if you learn a thing or two about, vibe coding, you can usually get your way through and actually deploy something that you never thought was possible. Think of it like this. Any software that you build typically is going to be a 0 to 1 strategy, where you literally have an idea and we're getting to 1. So you usually have what you call an MVP, which is minimum viable product, or a V1. And what you're trying to do is to just get started. Here's the thing though, is you've built this application, you've tested it, you've asked your family and your friends, hey, I got this idea, you want to test it out? And you're like, cool, all good, like that's a great idea. So then your ego is all huge and you're feeling good and you're like, yes, I'm going to launch like a 7-8 figure ARR SaaS company. Well, not so fast. So what you want to do then, you need to go from 1 to 100x. Once you get set up that Stripe integration, you got to actually have paying customers to actually stripe their way through, right? And give you cash and tell you if your product is good or not so good. That is the approach here. And this is why Instantly's MCP is going to get you 1 to 100x, and then even 100x to infinity, is to be able to have that flywheel approach, right? Where you're constantly getting new customers and sending cold email outbound. What I did just for this video is to think like, what is an idea that I can potentially build and with ease be able to show maybe some validity of being able to show trust and commitment, and knowing that, you know, if you have case studies, you're pretty legit. You can see here, I just said, build a simple web app called Case Study Forge, a case study generator for B2B businesses. And I said how it works. And literally what I did here is I put into Claude, I need an idea. I need you to output step by step all of the things that I'm going to need to put into Replit. So you can see we have the design, we have the tech. Keep it extremely simple. This is an MVP. It's going to say, okay, all these things, I've created Case Study Forge for you. It's live and ready to go. I said, let's rename this thing. This name is not going to fly. What would you like to name it? I said, well, I own Top of Funnel. That's a good start. And we usually call it Tofu. Okay, great. Let's actually make it an actual name now. And then we just said tofu generator. I said, let's just call it case study engine. Like, why get saucy? This is just a case study engine. Everybody knows what that is. I said, okay, let's make every button that I have also that I'm able to hover it and have the hand cursor. One thing that really bothers me is if I go into a SaaS and you see right here, the hand cursor, and you can see I'm hovering over it, but it gives me a response. This is the interactive piece here. If I see a mouse, that just shows that attention to detail is everything. And I said, take a screenshot and you'll see on the generator that it needs to make sure that everything looks just fine. As you can see, the display here does not look compelling. So sometimes there's going to be artifacts and the padding, and this is where web development and having good words and thinking clearly is really going to help you out. And then I said, let's really make this good. I said, fix this. Sometimes you got to vibe hard, right? Let's convert this to an app. All right, so we've designed it. We convert it to an application. I've successfully converted your case study engine to a full stack application. You now have authentication, database storage, complete dashboard, all the things. So I test it, I log in, I'm like, cool, it's a full application. And I said, all right, great. Now what I'd like to do is find out what my ICP is. Using Instantly MCP, tell me what tools that we have available. I just wanted to do a health check to make sure that it was connected just for testing purposes. It was able to do that. It says that I need to configure the API. So I said no, because authentication, sometimes it's all over the place. Plus this is a new launch. So I just said the API is configured. Now what I want you to do is to create a campaign for me, staging copy around our app. I want you to build a 2-step campaign sequence, just informing of a tool that we just built and the call to action saying you'd be open to trying it to see if it's useful for you. And then after you're done creating the campaign, I want you to give me a robust user message and prompt so I can easily copy that and paste it over to Instantly Copilot for me to be able to find leads and then add those leads to campaigns. And then you'll say, okay, create a 2-step campaign. It used Instantly MCP, selected accounts that we have there, found eligible accounts, used Instantly MCP, bam! So we just created a campaign here. You can see a 2-step sequence. Everything's already drafted. And then you could see in here with what you call a code snippet, where I can easily copy it just right here and be able to pass this through to Instantly's Copilot, where I can begin getting leads and then start to enrich those leads and then add them to the campaigns. So you could see clearly right here using Instantly's MCP to actually launch the campaign, create it, and then go to market, getting that 1 to 100x, where you can see right here, this is the actual campaign that we're looking at. Hi, first name. I noticed company name is growing fast in the industry space. Congrats on the momentum. I just built something that might be useful. Case study engine, tool that helps B2B teams create professional, polished case studies. We did a second step right here, and we are pretty much good to go. So I just need to enrich leads, set the schedule, set the options, and hit send. All things said, Instantly's MCP, or any MCP rather, is a huge thing that's happening right now. It is totally a productivity unlock for being able to effectively use them and connect external sources to your agents. These are just a few ways that my team and I use MCP every single day, especially with launching our cold email campaigns in our agency at Top of Funnel. If you are looking to take your marketing to the next level with your new Vibe coded app, check out this video on how you can get your Vibe marketing department spun up and really take your newly created application to even higher levels. I hope this video was helpful and that you learned something new today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.